Back to my channel, Books with Nate, and today I'm going to be doing a wrap-up for the month of July and what I plan to read in the month of August. I'll also be including a little bit of June in there, but it's not that much, to be honest with you. I just didn't put out a video. And before I forget, make sure to like and subscribe if you like this video, and also feel free to comment down below what your August is looking like. How was your July? Just let me know. I'm including June in this list because I only really finished one book, and that was Midnight Tides, which is the 5th book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I won't go into too much detail about this because I already made 2 videos about it, so go watch those if you'd like. But I really enjoyed this book. It's definitely in my top 2 of the Malazan books so far. I just really loved how all of the themes that have been prevalent throughout the series really came to a head in this book, and not all of them were in your face, but you kind of noticed them, really just live through these characters and live through this setting that we're in. And I can't recommend reading this series enough. It is so incredibly good. I love this series, and I will try to get everybody I know to read it, if they want to, of course. So in July, I finished 2 books, and just to kind of keep on the theme of Malazan, I guess I picked up a different book first, but here we are, is Knight of Knives by Ian C. Esselmont. And this is the first book in the novels of the Malazan Empire. It is in the same world as Stephen Erickson's works, and they kind of co-wrote this together. And this is takes place between books 5 and 6 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen, or published between the 2. I believe if you want to read these, you're supposed to read them every Malazan book in publication order, technically. But I think I just wanted to put this in there for fun, but for now. So yeah, I enjoyed this book for the most part. It's a little different in tone. You can see that it's Esselmont's first book, but I mean, people rag on it a lot, this book in particular, and I don't think it's really justified because Erickson's first book, Gardens of the Moon, wasn't like fantastic or anything. So I think you just kind of have to trust that Esselmont's just going to get better, and like I won't dish on him for that. Like, yeah, there's maybe some objective things that are like noticeably worse than Erickson's later writing when has like 5 or 6 books under his belt. But I enjoyed this book for the most part. I think you'll like this and want to include this potentially in your first reading of Malazan if you are interested in the history. It's also a pretty short book. I think it's technically considered like novella-ish. And it was a quick read, and I didn't really find the characters all that interesting. There were some flashback scenes that were really just, enthralling, I guess you could say. And it also explores some of the stories that we hear throughout the series, and it kind of reveals the truth behind those stories, because I think in Malazan what we see so far is this idea behind truth and stories and what they mean, and are you really hearing the truth from somebody? Because you kind of get back and forth information throughout the first 5 books or so. And this one kind of takes a step back and looks at that truth, or the story rather. And yeah, I just thought it was really interesting to see that. And I think if you're into the history of it and to the world especially, I'd highly recommend reading this. Oh, and I gave it a 3.75 out of 5 stars. I mean, do ratings really matter? Do I need to do ratings? I don't really care all that much, to be honest. I like the book. If I don't like a book, I usually won't rate it. So that's the existential crisis that I will answer later. The second book I finished in the month of July was The Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. This is the first book in the Sun Eater series. It took me a while to get through this, not because I disliked it, but I just wasn't really in the mood. I think I started this back at the end of April. It's also, it's a thicker book. I listened to most of it on audio, to be honest. It's Dune-esque. It's also Name of the Wind-esque, I would say. There's, you're following this first-person narrative of Hadrian Marlowe, who's kind of recounting his tale, and he kind of has become, from this narrative perspective, this, destroyer of all worlds. I mean, he tells that in the first page of the first book, so it's not like a spoiler or anything. So I thought that aspect was interesting. I think the universe and the worlds, plural, are interesting. My issues with it are that I just don't think what happens, or rather the emotions that Hadrian feels, are necessarily justified for me to feel bad for him. Obviously what happens to him in his life is not great and it's sad, but I just don't see where it came from. Because you just kind of get this, you just get the raw emotion from him versus necessarily, there's just not there's just not much depth in the side characters and what happens to them and how that affects him. This can be anything: death, love, friends, etc., etc. I think I'm starting to read the second book, and it's getting slightly better, but it just kind of feels like you're dropped in to the reaction that he's having versus, kind of getting the full breadth of it, the full, scope of it all. Yeah, I mean, I do enjoy this book. This series, rather. I do enjoy this series. But I do have some issues with it in terms of the storytelling. But I liked it overall, I would say. And I definitely am continuing with it. I'm in a read-along with Christopher Navo, Black and Blue Collar Reader, and The Bald Booktuber, I think, still. I think they're all still kind of reading it, but I know they're all busy, so I'm not going to press them on anything. But yeah, I think we'll maybe discuss this at some point. I'm not sure. But yeah, I like this world. I like the series. I just need something more from it for now. I gave it a 3.75 out of 5 as well. And now into the month of August and what I plan to read, and just to keep in the similar theme of Christopher Rocchio and the Sun Eater series, I'm reading the second book, Howling Dark. I'm reading Howling Dark. Okay. So this is the second book in the Sun Eater series, and I'm enjoying it more, like I said before. There are some improvements in terms of the narrative, I think. I like the ending of the last book, and I want to see kind of how that plays out and how Hadrian's story plays out. Yeah, so I like it so far. Hoping to get more out of it this time around. I don't think it'll be like the greatest book I ever read, but yeah, it's pretty good so far. And then to keep with the sci-fi theme, I, on a whim, decided to start Dune by Frank Herbert. I think most people know what this is. I don't know why I started this. Well, I do kind of. I was watching the movie again with my neighbor, and I was like, man, this movie's so good. And I've been wanting to read the book for a long time, and I have all these older Ace mass market paperbacks that I really love. And yeah, I'm not very far into it at all. I do kind of like it so far. I just want to read it just before the second movie comes out. Yeah, I don't know if I'll actually read it all, but I just wanted to kind of get into that world a little bit because it is something I've been wanting to read for quite some time. Yeah, I'll let you know how this goes in the next check-in. And then finally, the last book I'm reading in the month of August is The Bone Hunters by Stephen Erickson. This is the 6th book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I've talked about this series so much already, but this takes place pretty much directly after the 4th book, because the 5th book goes to a different place farther back in time, because that all makes sense. But yeah, I'm about 180 pages into it, I think. Apologies for the lightning and thunder if you can hear it or see it. But I'm liking it so far. I am really glad to be getting more of the Apsalar point of view. I've actually have found that the most engaging so far. Because she's somebody that you don't really you see her and you get other characters' interactions with her, but you never really get her perspective. And I just love seeing that. And she's been a character that I've been, intrigued by just because of what happens to her and the journey she goes on herself. Yeah, I think it's great to read more of her, perspective and everything like that. And it's also just great to be back with the Mulhausen army. I think those characters are a lot of fun, and they also have their own depth to them. Like, the character work in this series is really just top notch. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. I'll probably finish it next month. It usually takes me like 6 to 8 weeks to finish a Mulhausen book, just because I'll get really into it, I'll put it down for a little while, I'll get back into it. It's just kind of a back and forth thing. Not because I'm not enjoying it, but these books are a lot. So it's got to give myself that respect. So that's it from me today. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how your summer's going. It's hot out here in Colorado, but it's cooling down a little bit. So just let me know, and I will talk to you soon.